the hustle has always been been part of it. And like, I mean, true story. When I was in high school, I figured out that I made like a bunch of. I mean, because part of it is like you're trying to solve problems and see what, and part of it's like to get like a little bit of extra spending money. So I had a little program that like I kind of coded slash copied, which would basically, if you answer a few questions about your palm and the lines on your palm, it'll actually give you. I found like a thing that said this line means this line's mean that. So you answer a bunch of questions, and then I went to the, and then my cousin was at the local college, and I said, hey, why don't we like offer like computer generated palm reading? And it was like, I made like a couple of $100 doing that, which was, I mean, at the like Jordanian money, that's a lot of money.
No, that was some real hustling right there.
And so the concept of like hustling is like, I think my dad also had his own business. So you kind of I learned from him that like, okay, this was like things don't just happen. You have to go get them. You have to go. And I used to actually do a lot of. I mean, one of the things he figured out. This is now in the 80s. Uh, 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 he figured out if you actually present, because he did a lot of contracting. If you present your reports or your RFPs using computers, not hand drawn images, people think you're more advanced. So this is like the connection of like, hey, technology can unlock things. So I used to do all these drawings for him using like some CAD program that I had
Oh
on
wow.
my PC, and then he would get those projects. So you kind of like this was I mean, like I'm talking about, it's like subconsciously you realize, hey, technology can give you an edge if you know what you're doing, and it can also create a tremendous amount of efficiency. I mean, even at the time, like word processing, people used to actually type with like a typewriter, not with a. And
Yeah,
the thing is like if they had feedback on the RFP, we'd just go edit it, and it'll be
you don't
done.
have
You
to
don't have
type
to
it
do
again.
the whole thing. If you
Yeah,
needed to change something in the architectural drawing, it was a small edit, not redraw the whole hand drawn thing. So it was just like it
absolutely.
created like an art, like you realize this thing like technology can actually drive tremendous efficiency. And I got
Yeah,
experience with my dad, got experience. And then when I went to MIT, I discovered the internet, web pages. So like the thing at the time was all these classes realized they needed to actually have websites to actually describe the curriculum.
yeah.
And that was like an insight I had at MIT. So I used to go to professors and ask them, hey, do you want a website for your thing? And this was at the time there were no tools. There's nothing like
Right,
any of
right.
the tools today. You're
You were
like
just
coding in
VI, HTML, right on the. You like the classes were like tilde CS,
yeah,
50. Let's say
yeah.
drop
So
files.
I used to go around and ask them, hey, do you want a web page? And the way MIT works is like they actually will cover the cost on the behalf, like the school will pay for it. So I had this whole thing where I was like running around at school trying to get, and then I ended up hitting capacity. So then I taught some other students that I knew like how to do it. And I had like this mini consulting operation going at MIT. Uh, uh, and that kind of mindset has just been with me any everywhere I have been. Even at Lotus, you're like, okay, what's there interesting to do? But the difference is, I would say, I think that was the transformation. I would say when you were asking, like, okay, like from trying to solve problems to like thinking at another scale. This is actually the thing I would say that was part of the MIT experience, and I would say part of the Lotus experience, and then later in my career in the startup, especially at Google, like the scale of thinking and the scale of opportunity is actually something you learn. You realize, I mean, as an individual, as you're growing and building skills, you don't really realize your potential and the potential one can have the impact. And it's definitely been amplified through technology.
And so love that. And I love, like I said, that you continue to pursue the dream and you got off your ass at Google. You could have been stay there being busy. And it's an encouragement to people, right? To think about opportunities and things that they run into their real life
Mm-hmm.
and go after them, and not, because you could have delegated this problem to somebody else. Right?
Yeah.
But you took it on. And that's such powerful and speaks so highly of you, of what you're willing to do. And it's what a
Those are
pleasure
very
and
kind
privilege
words.
of knowing you and seeing a little bit of the arc of your life, getting to know a little bit of the earlier part of it, and continue to know you and see how you're going to change the world. So we still have, 10, 20, maybe 40 years left. So you're kicking my ass to do more.
Yeah. If you have an idea, you see a friction point in the world, there's always, if you've got the time and the drive,
The health.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of problems. I mean, this is actually for me, the most challenging things about the problem in healthcare is because I don't come from healthcare. Everywhere you look, there are problems. There's
Yeah.
a problem. I wouldn't say problems it's like problems that technology can remove friction. And that's actually one of the biggest challenges when I talk to the team. It's like everywhere you look, it's very, very easy to get lost in all the problems of healthcare. And it's really trying to find that path in the forest to kind of have impact. Again, good scalable thinking. You need to you can tube on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And
And I think we are so scared of, with our kids and stuff like that. I always think as a parent, right, removing friction from them, but friction is never going away. I mean, the goal of human beings is to remove friction because it just creates itself and it creeps up on us. But if you don't learn to deal with friction, how are you going to ever be successful, right?
Yes. And it's not just deal with friction, it's also being able to identify it.
To feel it. Like sometimes people are numb to it, right?
Yeah.
And they're, but that immigrant thing is, I think that's what we're susceptible. Part of the hustle is the ability to detect the friction, right? And be able to say, why am I, it's like, this is not working, right? It's like, so wait, it's kind of like they say salespeople, they're like water coming down the roof. Mm-hmm. Water finds the path of least resistance, always going down. And so like, that's what the hustle is, right? It's like when you're like moving like water, because you're like, I want to avoid it.
Yes. And I think the other half of it is that, especially if you've come from if you've been in a developing country, the level of friction is just like another level. Yeah. Like this, I mean, first thing, actually, this was the experience for me. I mean, getting a passport in the United States was like, for me, an eye-opening experience. I mean, getting a passport in another country is like it's easier to go to the doctor, get a colonoscopy, and come back than sometimes to get your first passport.
Yeah, I mean, I was when I got married, I was going to Ecuador with my wife, and that was 20 years ago, and they changed the law that I'm from Nicaragua. I didn't need a visa at that time when I checked, but when I got married, they changed it that I needed. So they did not let me get on the plane. And so and I just went around driving around Miami, and in about less than 24 hours, I had gotten my visa. Yeah, because I'm an immigrant hustler, right? But I literally went to places. I don't have a network, but yet we found the consulate in some building of Ecuador, and then who was there. It's funny because this guy came before me, and they said the bell says, "Do not ring the bell more than 3 times," or something like that. And the guy goes, "Ding, ding, ding, ding," and so the person comes out and says, and he goes, "I need my visa, stamp it," and the woman goes, "No, we can't do that today. Come back tomorrow." Because the guy violated the rules. And so like when I saw that, when I like waited there, and then I brought the pictures of my wedding, and they knew my wife, and so like I'm in the back of the embassy. It's like that's how you get the stuff done. But it's like I went from like no visa and I no car, no Uber, no phones. This is 1998, and I was like, find my way to get to the country, right? And when we were getting out, same thing. Her ID had expired from Ecuador,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had to leave the airport while we were past customs, go out to some ministry thing, and we had to get it done. And I had to do some illegal stuff to like get it done and come back to the plane so we make our flight. But it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Compare
And
right now. I took a picture at CVS, send it to the post office, and they just mailed me my passport.
yes, yeah. I mean, it's just it was such a transform, and then you realize, okay, so because we've seen the stuff, like, and you've seen the extremes. So whenever you see extreme stuff, you're like, it can be efficient.
Yeah.
And then once you learn technology, you're like, ooh, we can use tech to remove all these friction points.
That's awesome. 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 Great stories. I feel like we're going to have to do more stories. Thank you so much for being on the episode,
Oh,
historic
really enjoyed
episode.
it. It's always,
I hope everybody understands. Like, I don't know. I hope they all get a glimpse of how impressive of an impact you made on the world, right? And that you continue to do from a kid that didn't even have an email address.
yeah. I didn't know what it was.
We had great stories. Thank you so much, Sami.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks for listening to the American Dream Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss when a new episode drops. If you like this episode, please leave a 6-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're interested in learning more about my American Dream mission, subscribe to my newsletter linked in the show notes.